General Zraxis stood tall on the main deck of his massive spaceship, the harbinger of dawn. His yellow eyes narrowed as he looked at the display screens showing the small blue planet. His scaly skin shimmered under the bright lights of the command center. He had led the Keldorian Empire to victory 17 times before. This would be his 18th win. "This system is weak," he said to the officers around him. His voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. "We have taken 4 planets already. This last one will fall just as easily." Commander Vexal approached and bowed low. His scales were darker than Zraxis's, showing his lower rank. "Supreme Commander, we have found something unusual on the 3rd planet." Zraxis didn't even turn to look at him. What could possibly be unusual about another weak world? "The beings there call themselves humans," Vexal said. "They have spotted one of our scout ships and are trying to capture it." This made Zraxis turn around, not because he was worried, but because he was surprised any primitive species would dare to approach Keldorian technology. "Show me these creatures." The large screen in front of them changed to show a small Earth ship next to one of the Keldorian scout vessels. Tiny figures in spacesuits moved from one ship to the other. Zraxis leaned forward, his interest slightly raised for the first time since entering this star system. "Zoom in on these humans," he ordered. The image grew larger, showing the beings more clearly. They were small compared to Keldorians. They had no scales, no natural armor, no claws. Their bodies looked soft and weak. They moved with surprising skill, but they seemed so fragile. Zraxis began to laugh. The sound echoed around the command deck, a harsh barking noise that showed his complete lack of concern. "These are the creatures that think they can challenge us? They look like they would break if I merely poked them." His officers joined in, their laughter spreading across the room. The Keldorians were a warrior race. They stood over 7 feet tall, with natural armor plating and powerful muscles. Next to them, humans looked like children. "Sir," Commander Vexal said when the laughter died down, "our reports suggest they might have better technology than we first thought." Zraxis waved one clawed hand dismissively. "I have fought and beaten hundreds of species across the galaxy. I know a primitive race when I see one. These humans will be easier to crush than most." He turned to his weapons officer. "Prepare a small attack force. Nothing major. Just enough to show these humans their place. We will land troops near their largest cities tomorrow." As the officers moved to follow his orders, Zraxis continued to watch the screen. On the scout ship, Lieutenant Alan Carter of Earth's Special Space Operations Division had found the ship's main computer. His fingers moved quickly over his tablet as he downloaded the Keldorian ship's data. Maps of their fleet positions, weapons information, and communication codes all flowed into his device. "Got it," he said into his helmet microphone. "Sending the data package to Earth Command now." The other 5 members of his team finished placing small devices around the ship. These were not bombs as the Keldorians might expect, but advanced scanning tools that would continue to collect information and send it back to Earth. "All units pull back to the shuttle," Alan ordered. "We've got what we came for." As they returned to their ship, Alan took one last look at the alien vessel. In his 10 years of space service, he had never seen technology like this. Earth forces would be outmatched in direct combat. But humans had never relied only on direct approaches. Back on the Harbinger of Dawn, General Zraxis had already lost interest in the small human ship. He was reviewing plans for the ground invasion, completely confident in his victory. The Keldorian Empire had never lost a war. Their technology was advanced, their soldiers were strong, and their tactics had been perfected over thousands of years. "Commander," he said to Vexal, "make sure we record the humans' reactions when they see our forces. I want to remember the look of fear on their faces when they realize how hopelessly outmatched they are." Vexal nodded. "Yes, Supreme Commander. We will begin landing procedures at dawn local time." "Excellent," Zraxis said, his sharp teeth showing, and what passed for a smile among his kind. "By the end of their week, this Earth will be just another entry in our conquest records." What General Zraxis didn't know was that Lieutenant Alan Carter's data transmission had reached Earth Command. In an underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, military leaders from around the world were already viewing the Keldorian battle plans. Scientists were analyzing their technology. Strategists were developing countermeasures. Their ground forces will land here, here, and here, General Maria Sanchez said, pointing to a world map. They expect us to engage them directly. But we won't, said Admiral Peter Olson. Not their way. In orbit, Alan Carter's team docked with the main Earth Defense Station. As he stepped through the airlock, he was met by Colonel Jack Wright. "Did you get what we needed?" the colonel asked. Alan nodded and handed over his data device. "Everything, ship layouts, communication frequencies, weapons specifications. They don't encrypt much. They don't think they need to." "Arrogance," Colonel Wright said. "That's good, for us." "They're powerful, sir," Alan warned. "Their tech is beyond anything we have." The colonel nodded. "Then we'll have to be smarter, won't we? Humanity has always been good at that." He looked at the data device. "This gives us a chance. Now we just need to make the most of it." On Earth below, people went about their daily lives, most still, unaware of the threat hanging above them. In schools and offices, homes and factories, 7 billion humans continued their normal routines. They didn't know that within 24 hours, they would be fighting for their very survival. As night fell across North America, Lieutenant Alan Carter stood at a window on the space station looking down at the blue planet. Tomorrow an alien general would learn a hard lesson, one that every human knew from birth. Never judge by appearances alone. The Keldorians saw humans as weak because they had no natural armor or claws. What they failed to understand was that humans had survived and thrived precisely because they had to be smart, adaptable, and creative. Without natural weapons, they had built artificial ones. Without natural armor, they had learned to move quickly and think faster. General Zaraxis would learn soon enough. Humans were not an easy conquest. They were perhaps the most dangerous species in the galaxy, because they had spent their entire history learning how to overcome stronger opponents. Tomorrow would be just the beginning. 2 weeks had passed since the Keldorians began their invasion of Earth. General Zaraxis stood before the large window on his command ship, his clawed hands clasped behind his back. His yellow eyes narrowed as he watched the planet below. He was not happy. "Commander Vexal," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "Explain to me why these humans still resist us." Vexal approached carefully. He had seen the general angry before, but rarely this frustrated. "Supreme Commander, the humans are using unusual tactics. They do not fight as we expected." Zaraxis turned sharply. "We have conquered 17 star systems. Our methods are perfect. The humans should have surrendered after the first wave." "Yes, sir, but nothing." Zaraxis slammed his fist on the nearby console, leaving a dent in the metal. "Show me the latest report." The screen lit up with images from Earth. Keldorian forces had established bases in several locations, but many were now under attack. The humans did not fight in large groups as expected. Instead, they used small teams that struck quickly and then disappeared. "What is this?" Zaraxis demanded, pointing to footage of a Keldorian outpost burning. "Outpost Sigma 7, sir. It was attacked yesterday." "By how many human soldiers?" Vexal hesitated. "Just one, sir." "One?" Zaraxis roared. "Impossible. We had 30 warriors stationed there." "I have the recording, sir." The screen changed to show security footage from the outpost. A single human figure moved through the Keldorian defenses with incredible speed. The human used the environment, and even the Keldorians' own weapons against them. One by one, the alien warriors fell. "Zoom in," Zaraxis ordered, his voice suddenly quiet. The image enlarged to show a human female in light armor. She moved with smooth, precise movements, finding weak points in the Keldorian soldiers' natural armor that should not have existed. "Who? Is this human?" Zaraxis asked. "Her name is Sergeant Nicole Winters, according to our intelligence. She is part of a special unit called Ghost Protocol." Zraxis watched the footage again. The human woman was smaller than his warriors with no natural weapons or armor. Yet she defeated them all. It made no sense to him. "Bring me the science officer," he ordered. Chief Science Officer Maldex arrived quickly. He was older than most. Keldorians on the ship, his scales duller with age. "You summoned me, Supreme Commander?" "Explain this," Zraxis said, playing the footage again. "How can one human defeat 30 of our warriors?" Maldex studied the screen carefully. "Fascinating. We may have misjudged these humans." "Explain." "We assumed their physical weakness meant they would be easy to defeat. But they have adapted to their weaknesses in ways we never considered." Maldex pointed to the screen. "This human uses our strength against us. Our warriors are bigger and stronger, but also slower. She uses speed and precision instead of brute force." Zraxis frowned. "But our technology is advanced, yes." Maldex nodded. "But the humans are learning to use it very quickly. They capture our weapons and within days understand how to operate them. That should take years. For most species, yes. But humans appear to have an unusual ability to adapt and learn." Maldex brought up new images on the screen. "They are also highly cooperative. Look at this." The screen showed humans from different parts of Earth working together, sharing information, creating new weapons based on Keldorian technology. They have no central government. Yet they coordinate better than many unified species we've encountered. Maldex explained. "And they have something else our analysts find difficult to understand. They call it determination." Zraxis paced the room, his tail swishing in agitation. "Are you saying we cannot defeat them?" "No, sir. We still have superior numbers and technology. But this will not be a quick or easy conquest." The general stopped pacing. "I want this human, this Sergeant Winters, captured. I want to understand how a single human can defeat 30 Keldorians." "Yes, Supreme Commander." As Maldex and Vexal left, Zraxis returned to the window. The blue planet seemed different to him now, no longer an easy target, but a puzzle to be solved. On Earth, Sergeant Nicole Winters arrived at the underground command center. She was tired after her mission, but there was no time to rest. The war continued. "Good work at Sigma 7, Colonel," Jack Wright said as she entered the war room. "The data you recovered is already helping us understand their technology better." Nicole nodded. "Their weapons are powerful, but their tactics are predictable. They rely too much on strength and not enough on creativity." Around them, dozens of people worked at computers analyzing Keldorian data and coordinating resistance efforts worldwide. Humans from every country worked together against the common threat. "What's our next move?" Nicole asked. The colonel brought up a map showing a large Keldorian base. "They're building something here, some kind of space elevator. If they complete it, they can bring down more troops and equipment much faster." "We need to stop it," Nicole said simply. "Exactly. But this base is heavily guarded. We'll need more than just you this time." Lieutenant Alan Carter joined them, bringing fresh intel from space observations. "Their security is tight, but I found a weakness. They rotate guards in a specific pattern. There's a 3-minute window when the northeast section is vulnerable." "That's not much time," Nicole said. "It's all we'll get," the colonel replied. "I'm sending you with a team of 5. Your mission is to place these devices throughout the base." He showed them small metal objects that looked like coins. "They'll disrupt the elevator's construction systems." Alan studied one of the devices. "These look like Keldorian technology." "They are," the colonel smiled. "We've modified their own tech to use against them. Dr. Susan Bell and her team reverse-engineered them from the parts you brought back from the scout ship." This was how humans fought, adapting, learning, using the enemy's strength against them. No human was as strong as a Keldorian, but humans had never relied on strength alone. Back on the Harbinger of Dawn, General Zraxis received new reports of human resistance efforts across the planet. He had never faced an enemy like this before. The humans should have been broken by now, terrified and surrendering. Instead, they fought harder each day. "Sir," Commander Vexal reported, "we've intercepted a human communication you should hear." Voice played through the ship systems. "This is Commander Ben Lewis to all Earth resistance cells. The Keldorians think their technology makes victory inevitable. But throughout our history, humans have faced threats of extinction, plagues, climate disasters, wars, and we've always adapted and survived. Let's show them what humans do when backed into a corner." Zaraxis listened carefully. There was something in the human's voice he rarely heard from conquered species. Absolute conviction that victory was possible, despite overwhelming odds. For the first time in his long military career, General Zaraxis felt uncertain. These humans were teaching him something he had never needed to learn before, that physical strength was not the only kind of power in the universe, and he was beginning to wonder if the Keldorian Empire had finally met its match. General Zaraxis called his war council together on the main deck of the Harbinger of Dawn. The mood was tense. 3 Earth months had passed since the invasion began, and victory seemed further away than ever. "This changes nothing," Zaraxis declared, though his voice lacked its usual confidence. "A few clever tactics do not win wars. We still have more ships, more soldiers, and better weapons." Chief Science Officer Maldex cleared his throat. "With respect, Supreme Commander, I believe we must understand these humans better before we continue." Zaraxis waved a clawed hand. "Then tell me about them. What makes them different from the other species we have conquered?" Maldex activated a display showing human history. Most importantly, humans evolved in an environment that forced constant adaptation. Unlike our species, which developed in a stable world where our natural armor ensured our dominance, humans faced continuous challenges. The display showed early humans hunting, then farming, then building cities and machines. Their bodies appear weak, Maldex continued, but they are remarkably efficient. Their muscles have less raw power than ours, but greater endurance. And their brains. He paused. "What about their brains?" Zaraxis demanded. "They process information differently than any species we have encountered. They create connections between unrelated ideas, what they call creativity, and they show unusual determination when faced with difficulties." Commander Vexal added, "We have captured some of their communications. Listen to this." An audio recording played. "This is Commander Ryan Foster to all Earth resistance forces. We may have lost the Pacific base, but remember what we're fighting for. Throughout our history, humans have faced threats that should have ended us. Diseases, natural disasters, our own wars, but we've always adapted and survived. The Keldorians think their technology makes them unbeatable. Let's prove them wrong." Zaraxis listened with growing concern. One voice cannot inspire an entire species to defy reality. "It's not just one voice," Maldex explained. "We've intercepted thousands of similar messages. The humans are coordinating globally, sharing information, changing their tactics based on each encounter with our forces. We've also discovered something disturbing in their cultural records," Vexal said hesitantly. "What now?" Zaraxis growled. "They have thousands of years of fictional stories about successfully fighting off alien invasions. They've been mentally preparing for this scenario for generations, even before they knew we existed." For the first time, General Zaraxis felt genuinely worried. These humans weren't just fighting, they were fighting with absolute belief that they could win. Such certainty, despite overwhelming odds, defied logical understanding. "Increase attacks on all fronts," he ordered. "I want these humans broken before the next cycle." On Earth, inside the Mountain Command Center, Colonel Jack Wright led a strategic meeting with resistance leaders from around the world. Large screens showed the status of Keldorian forces across the planet. "Their space elevator construction is behind schedule thanks to our sabotage teams," he reported. "But they're adapting their security measures. We need a new approach." Nicole Winters, recently promoted to captain for her successful missions, studied the tactical display. "Their troops are spreading too thin. They're trying to control too many areas at once," Lieutenant Alan Carter agreed. "Their military structure is rigid. They follow standard procedures even when those procedures don't work. We can use that against them." Dr. Susan Bell, head of the technology division, brought forward a new device. "We've modified their communication systems. This transmitter can intercept and alter their orders. How exactly? Colonel Wright asked. We can make their commanders see false information, Susan explained. For example, we could make it look like a human force is attacking from the north when we're actually coming from the east. This was how humans had always survived, not through superior strength or numbers, but through innovation and adaptation. There's something else you should see, Alan said, bringing up new satellite images. The Keldorians are building something, in orbit. Looks like a weapon platform. Colonel Wright frowned. If they get that operational, they could target our underground bases. We need to destroy it, Nicole said simply. Agreed, but how? We don't have ships that can reach it. Nicole smiled. We don't need our ships. We'll use theirs. Back on the Harbinger of Dawn, General Zraxis received reports of new human attacks across multiple fronts. His forces were responding but always seemed one step behind. They're learning too quickly, he muttered to himself. How do they adapt so fast? Commander Vexall entered the command deck. Sir, we've captured a human soldier. You may want to question this one personally. Why? What makes this human special? It's the one called Ghost 7, Sergeant Nicole Winters. Zraxis's yellow eyes widened. The one who destroyed Outpost Sigma 7? Bring her to me immediately. 30 minutes later, Nicole Winters stood before him in restraints designed for beings 3 times her size. Despite this, she stood straight, her eyes taking in everything around her. So, Zraxis said, walking slowly around her. You're the human who destroyed one of my outposts single-handedly. You don't look very impressive. Nicole met his gaze without fear. And you're the alien general who thought conquering Earth would be easy. I guess we both misjudged each other. Her boldness surprised him. Why do you fight? You must understand. You cannot win. We have conquered hundreds of worlds. We have technology your species can barely understand. Had, she corrected. You had technology we could barely understand. Not anymore. You believe you can match us? Nicole smiled. General, humans spent most of our history fighting each other. We have thousands of years of experience fighting enemies with the same abilities we have. Now we're using those lessons against an enemy who doesn't understand that our weaknesses are also our strengths. Explain, Zraxis demanded, genuinely curious. Your species evolved to be physically dominant, so you never needed to improve beyond a certain point. Humans evolved as problem solvers because individually we're vulnerable. Our entire civilization is built on finding creative solutions to challenges that should destroy us. Zraxis felt an unusual sensation. Doubt. You make it sound as though your species specifically evolved to defeat mine. Not specifically, Nicole replied, but we evolved to adapt. Right now, every human on Earth is working to solve the problem of your invasion. Scientists, soldiers, teachers, children. We all contribute in different ways. That's something your rigid military structure can't match. You truly believe you can win. I know we can, she said simply. Because we've already started. At that moment, alarms blared throughout the flagship. Commander Vexall rushed in, his usual calm completely gone. Sir, human forces have breached our lower engineering sections. The ship shuddered violently, and emergency lights flashed as main power fluctuated. Nicole smiled again. That would be the rescue team. I was just the distraction. For the first time in his military career, General Zraxis felt something completely new, the beginning of defeat. The command center of the Harbinger of Dawn was silent except for the beeping of damaged systems. General Zraxis stood amid the chaos, his yellow eyes fixed on the tactical display. 4 Keldorian months into what should have been an easy conquest, and his forces were doing something they had never done before, retreating. The southern defense line has fallen, Commander Vexall reported, keeping his voice steady despite the bad news. The humans used some kind of pulse weapon that shut down our battle machines. Then their ground teams attacked our troops when they were confused. Zraxis didn't respond right away. The display showed red areas, zones now under human control, spreading across the planet like a disease. And the space elevator? He finally asked. Destroyed, sir. A small team led by Captain William Hayes somehow got past our security systems using stolen Keldorian identification codes. Our engineers never saw them until it was too late. The general's claws dug into the metal console, leaving deep scratches. How? How are they defeating technology it took our civilization thousands of years to develop? Chief Science Officer Maldex looked up from his station. We believe it's their learning speed, sir. Humans seem to understand and improve new technologies at rates that make no sense. They're not just using our weapons, they're making them better. That's impossible. Zraxis slammed his fist down. No species learns that quickly. Sir, Vexall interrupted. There's something else you should know. The human prisoner, Captain Winters, escaped during the attack. Escaped? You mean her rescue was successful? Yes, sir. But we managed to place a tracking device on her without her knowledge. We can follow her movements. For the first time since the alarms had sounded, Zraxis felt a glimmer of hope. Then we can find their main base. Exactly, sir. The signal shows she's heading to a mountain range on the northern continent. Prepare a strike team, Zraxis ordered. Our best warriors, our best weapons. I will lead this mission myself. Commander Vexall looked surprised. Yourself, sir? That's highly unusual. This entire war is unusual, Zraxis growled. I need to understand these humans. The only way to do that is to face them directly. 6 hours later, Zraxis stood in the loading bay as elite Keldorian warriors prepared for battle. He had exchanged his ceremonial armor for combat plating, something he hadn't worn in over 20 campaigns. His personal energy blade hung at his side, its crystal core glowing with blue light. The plan is simple, he told his strike team. We follow the tracking signal to the human command center. We capture their leaders. Without leadership, their resistance will crumble. The warriors saluted, their armored fists striking their chest plates with loud clangs. As the Keldorian dropships approached Earth's atmosphere, Zraxis reviewed everything he had learned about humans. They were physically weak, but mentally flexible. They worked together in ways that seemed almost like a single organism. And most troubling, they never gave up, even when logic said they should. Sir, the pilot called back. We're detecting defense systems activating below. Expected, Zraxis replied. Continue as planned. The ships descended through clouds as anti-aircraft fire erupted around them. The Keldorian pilots were skilled, weaving through the barrage with practiced precision. 3 ships made it to the landing zone, a flat area near the mountain where the tracking signal originated. As Zraxis stepped onto Earth soil for the first time, he took a moment to study his surroundings. The air was thinner than on his homeworld, the gravity slightly weaker. No wonder humans move so quickly here. Signal is coming from inside the mountain, a scout reported. There appears to be an entrance 2 kilometers north. Move out, Zraxis ordered. Stay alert. The Keldorian strike team advanced through the forest, weapons ready. Everything seemed too quiet. No birds sang, no animals fled from their approach. Sir, the scout whispered. This feels wrong. Zraxis nodded. His battle instincts, honed over centuries of warfare, were screaming warnings. Defensive formation. Prepare for... The attack came from everywhere at once. Human soldiers in camouflage. Armor rose from hidden positions in the ground. Others dropped from trees. They moved with coordinated precision that reminded Zraxis of hive species from the outer systems. Return fire, he shouted, drawing his energy blade. The battle was chaotic. Keldorian warriors were stronger, their weapons more powerful, but the humans seemed to anticipate their every move. They used the environment, drawing the aliens into prepared traps. Zraxis fought his way through 3 human soldiers, his blade cutting through their lighter armor. But for every human that fell, 2 more appeared. And they were using modified Keldorian weapons, improved versions that fired faster and hit harder. Fall back to the ships, he ordered when half his team was down. As they retreated, a new group of humans emerged from the trees ahead, cutting off their escape. Leading them was a familiar face, Captain Nicole Winters. General Zraxis, she called out. You walked right into our trap. Understanding dawned on him. You knew about the tracking device. She smiled. We found it immediately. Did you really think we wouldn't check for such a basic tactic? We decided to let you follow it, right to where we wanted you. Around them, the battle was ending. The remaining Keldorian warriors, seeing they were surrounded, lowered their weapons. You planned this from the beginning, Zraxus realized. Your capture, the attack on my ship, it was all to plant the idea of tracking you. Humans have been using this strategy for thousands of years, Nicole explained. We call it a Trojan horse, letting the enemy think they have the advantage when really they're doing exactly what you want them to. For the first time in his life, General Zraxus surrendered his weapon. As human soldiers secured the Keldorian warriors, Nicole approached him. What happens now? He asked. Do you kill me as revenge for the worlds I've conquered? She shook her head. That's not how we do things. You're going to talk with our leaders. Maybe we can find a way to end this war without more bloodshed on either side. As they led him toward the mountain base, Zraxus looked up at the sky where his fleet still waited in orbit. They were powerful ships with weapons that could destroy entire cities. But now he understood why that power hadn't been enough. You know, he said to Nicole as they walked, on my world we have a saying, true strength lies in victory. But I'm beginning to think we were wrong. True strength might be knowing when you've met your match. Nicole nodded. On Earth we say something similar. The strongest trees bend in the wind while the rigid ones break. Your empire has been rigid for too long, General. Maybe it's time to learn how to bend. The Harbinger of Dawn, once the pride of the Keldorian fleet, moved slowly through space with many of its systems still damaged. In the 6 Earth months since the invasion began, everything had changed. General Zraxus stood by the large window, in what was now a meeting room rather than a command center, watching the blue planet below. 70% of his ground troops had been captured or defeated. His orbital platforms had been systematically disabled or taken over. Most shocking of all, humans were now operating modified versions of Keldorian ships. Supreme Commander, Vexal said as he entered the room, using the formal title that once meant victory and power. The Earth representatives have arrived for the peace talks. Zraxus nodded. In 17 campaigns across the galaxy, he had never known defeat, until now. But strangely, he did not feel the shame he had expected. Instead, he felt something, like respect. Show them in, he said. The doors opened to admit a small group of humans. Admiral Frank Oliver led them, a tall man with gray hair and a serious face. Behind him came Captain Nicole Winters and 3 others, civilian leaders representing Earth's major regions. General Zraxus, Admiral Oliver greeted him with a respectful nod. Thank you for agreeing to these talks. Zraxus returned the gesture. Your species has earned the right to negotiate. I would be foolish to continue a war we cannot win. They sat around a large table, once used for planning conquests, now the site of the first ever peace negotiation in Keldorian history. Let me be direct, Zraxus began. What terms do you propose? Admiral Oliver activated a small device that projected a document between them. We want 3 things. First, the immediate withdrawal of all Keldorian forces from Earth and our solar system. Second, the return of all human prisoners. Third, a non-aggression pact that will ensure you never return to our world with hostile intent. Zraxus studied the document carefully. These terms are surprisingly merciful. You could demand much more given your current advantage. We're not interested in revenge, General, one of the civilian leaders explained. We want peace, not to start a new war. This was not how conquered species behaved. It was not how conquerors behaved either. Once again, humans defied his expectations. And what do we gain from this agreement? Zraxus asked, though he knew they could demand whatever they wished. A cultural and technological exchange, Admiral Oliver said. Our scientists believe both our species could benefit from cooperation rather than conflict. We have much to learn from each other. Captain Winters spoke up. Your medical technology could help millions of humans. Our agricultural methods could help feed worlds in your empire that face food shortages. Zraxus was silent for a long moment. Then he did something no Keldorian military leader had ever done. He laughed without mockery or triumph, but with genuine amusement. "What's funny?" Nicole asked. "6 months ago I laughed when I first saw humans," Zraxis explained. "I thought you were weak, primitive creatures who would beg for mercy within days. Now I'm the one accepting terms from you. The universe has a strange sense of humor." "We were underestimated," Admiral Oliver said simply. "It's happened throughout our history, but we've learned it's better to make friends than enemies." 3 days later, the formal peace treaty was signed aboard a neutral vessel positioned between Earth and the Keldorian fleet. General Zraxis, now serving as diplomatic representative for the Empire, found himself face-to-face with a much larger human delegation. "There is one thing I still don't understand," Zraxis said to Nicole as they watched their respective leaders sign the documents. "How did your species develop such resilience, such adaptability?" Nicole considered the question. "We had to. Humans haven't always been the dominant species on Earth. For most of our early history, we were prey for larger predators. We couldn't outfight them, so we had to outthink them." "Like you outthought us," Zraxis nodded. "Exactly. And later, when we became the dominant species, we continued to face challenges, diseases, natural disasters, climate changes. Those who couldn't adapt didn't survive." Zraxis looked at the human delegation, scientists, soldiers, political leaders, all working together despite their different backgrounds. "The Keldorian Empire has been powerful for so long we forgot what it means to struggle. Everything came easily to us with our natural strength and armor." "Comfort can be a weakness," Nicole said. "Struggle builds strength." As the ceremony concluded, Admiral Oliver approached them. "Captain Winters, the Joint Chiefs want you to head up the new Interspecies Defense Force. You'll be working directly with General Zraxis to establish protocols for peaceful interactions between our worlds." Nicole looked surprised. "Me, sir?" "You understand the Keldorians better than anyone," the Admiral explained, "and they respect you." "He's right," Zraxis agreed. "My warriors speak of you with fear and admiration. They call you the human who could not be broken. It's a high compliment among our kind." 2 weeks later, Zraxis stood on the observation deck of the new Joint Command Station orbiting Earth. The Keldorian fleet was departing, returning to the Empire with news that would forever change their approach to other species. Only Zraxis and a small diplomatic team remained. "It's strange," he said as Nicole joined him at the window. "I came to conquer your world. Now I'm helping to protect it." "Life takes unexpected turns," she replied. "That's something humans understand well." Below them, Earth turned slowly, blue oceans and green continents coming into view as the station orbited. "Your world is beautiful," Zraxis admitted. "I wish I had seen that when I first arrived." "There's an old human saying," Nicole told him, "the best view comes after the hardest climb. We had to fight each other to reach this point of understanding." As the last Keldorian warships disappeared into the darkness of space, Zraxis felt no regret for his defeat. Instead, he felt something new. Hope for a different kind of future. His empire had conquered hundreds of worlds, but perhaps they had missed something important along the way. "What happens now?" he asked. Nicole smiled. "Now comes the interesting part. We learn from each other. We grow. We explore the galaxy as partners rather than enemies." Zraxis nodded slowly. The Keldorian Empire would never be the same, and perhaps that was for the best. In the vast history of galactic civilizations, humans would not be remembered as just another conquered species. Instead, they would be known as the beings who taught the mighty Keldorian Empire that true strength comes not from domination, but from adaptation, creativity, and cooperation. And as Zraxis looked at the human standing beside him, so physically, different yet so unexpectedly similar in spirit, he knew the universe had much more to teach them both.